Welcome to the Menopausal Women's Show for nutrition, health, and wellness. And I am Michelle, and as a menopause coach, I work with women to transform their hormone health and well-being to achieve the life they want to achieve. On this podcast, I share research findings on hot topics, talk with other holistic healers, and share my own experiences to empower women to take steps to a better lifestyle. Now, this week, we're going to do something slightly different. I am connected with Lena, and her journey has been amazing. Lena is an integrative health coach, and she is kindly coming onto the show to share her own menopause journey, the challenging considerations she's had to make due to cancer diagnosis, the practices she has put in place, and share with you what she has found and what research advocates has worked for her to thrive. So without further ado, please welcome Lena to the show. Hello, welcome. I'm so grateful. So just let's get cracking. Just start sharing with us a bit about your journey to the menopause, and let's just take it from there. And yes, I probably will be making some notes just so that I can capture all your hints and your tips.
And please stop me anytime if you have any questions. I go with the flow. This is kind of the essence of this whole journey, right? You just go with the flow.
Go with
Um,
the flow.
I'm so happy to be with you today. Where should I start? So my menopausal journey came a bit early. I never really expected to be going through menopause right now. As we speak here today, I am 45 years old. At 48 years old, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And subsequently, after all the treatments and finding out that I had a genetic predisposition for ovarian cancer, I ended up being put into medical menopause because I removed my ovaries. And it was a really tough decision to even go for that because I didn't have ovarian cancer. There was not a threat in the moment. However, preventatively, coming from the medical mindset, my degree is in conventional medicine. I'm a nuclear medicine technologist. And after my cancer diagnosis, I trained as an integrative health coach. Deciding to go for that surgery, I was faced right away with that whole mindset of what people think about menopause, right? You start rehashing all of these examples of, okay, so what am I going to get? I'm going to get hot flashes. I'm going to get bone pain. I'm going to get all of these terrible things that you've heard of that people constantly mention. However, in my story, I had to figure out how to flip the script and get myself to a place of not expecting the bad, but expecting the goodness out of the whole thing.
Wow, that's beautiful. And that's quite a critical thing, isn't it? Because obviously we're all wired just to look at the negative. So how did you rewire your brain, so to speak, to think more positively?
So to be honest with you, so my mother passed away from breast cancer. She was 46 years old when that happened. And I was watching myself as I was going through the breast cancer diagnosis and noticing that I did not picture a vibrant woman on the other side of a cancer diagnosis because I haven't focused enough to see one. My mother passed away, and after that, I've had a string of friends, acquaintances, things in the news. Everything kind of gives you this picture of the scary aspects of cancer. And when you translate that into menopause, it's almost the same thing, but on a smaller scale, right? It's not life threatening, but at the same time, you're focusing on the negative. And in that moment, when I couldn't conjure up the picture of somebody that went through it well, I knew that I had to be that. I had to be that for myself. And then I had to look for others that are that on the other side.
Now, this is quite interesting because we always look for female leaders, don't we? And as part of my sort of childhood and experience. And I too have lost my mother. My mother passed away in February. And I got very angry because I was like, one, I'm left with a lot of rubbish, but equally, she wasn't this leader. And whether or not you've got daughters or nieces, actually, I've got two sons, and I go, I want you to see me as a leading lady, a bit like in a, a film movie, a leading lady, because if we don't lead from the front in our journeys, what hope has anybody else got to, to change the world? And that sounds quite bold and brash to go, well, I'm going to change the world. But it's if we all collectively reframe and go, actually, okay, I haven't got something, but who do I want to be? How do I want to experience this? Then if we change us, each of us, and we connect together like me and you have connected, then we can become that phenomenal force to lead from the front and go, it's not as bad as people think. There's an awful lot out there, but this is why I do my podcast, is to go, actually, it's really quite simple. So I love the fact that you recognized that there wasn't that leading figure for you to follow, and you pivoted it around to go, I'm going to be that leading lady.
Right. The phrase that kept coming up, and this was an oncologist that said this to me, your mother's story is not your story. You get to write your own. And that's what flipped everything upside down. And it was a slow process. Trust me, I'm human just like you and everyone else listening to this. There is fear. There is a tremendous amount of fear. But to recognize that fear as an emotion, as something that is temporary, as something that is not here to stay, and to also expect and look forward to growth on the other side of fear, that's the part that I was able to learn through the cancer journey and then translate into the menopause journey when I chose to go for that surgery. That was the little piece that I needed to be able to say, okay, you can't sit here and expect all these bad things. If you're going to choose and decide to go for the surgery, and this was the other aspect of all of this, I never wanted to feel like a victim of cancer, a victim of circumstance, a victim of somebody who is having this surgery done to her. I chose this. And when I choose this, I choose how I walk it. So that's where it all began with me. And I didn't know what symptoms I was going to have. I didn't know how my body was going to respond, but I expected good things.
It's just, sorry, yeah, I'm just quite emotional because actually it's beautiful what you're saying, because as you say, I think the message today is you chose this, but you're also going to choose how you're going to navigate it. And a lot of us get to this stage, and I call it an evolutionary. I go, well, great, because you're going to save a heck of a lot of money on sanitary goods, put it that way. So what's the positives? But we come to this and we should embrace it, and we should embrace all the elements of it, where a lot of people go, oh my God, I've lost my womanhood. And certainly my family have had breast cancer, and they feel that having false boobs, because they've had to have that breast reconstruction removal. And there's me going, well, the only time I had any boobs was when I was pregnant. So, I could quite happily do it that way. And it is a really change of mindset of how people embrace it. And it's just beautiful what you've shared.
Well, and to kind of follow up with that, I don't see aging as me losing something. I age like fine wine. I age, and it is a privilege to celebrate every single one of my birthdays. And I'm not going to be corny and say because a lot of people don't get that opportunity, because that is true as well. But that's not why. Other people are not the reason I live. I live because I am here to do what you said earlier, change the world. Like, I am here to change my little nuclear world of my family. And then I am here to watch that ripple outwards, but I'm not in control of that. I am just here to be.
So, so what sort of things did you do? So first of all, you really focused on mindset. Mindset, it doesn't matter whether or not you're in your 20s, your 30s, or your 80s. Mindset is something that I think, and you touched on it quite recently, the victim mindset. And I think that's something that actually is like a muscle. You have to really train it. And it's hard to train that muscle to always go, okay, what's the best outcome here, and not be the victim. And you've come from a phenomenal place. Equally, a lot of people have asked me, but your brother went a different way, and I don't have my brother anymore, but you were both brought up by abusive parents. So how does that work? And I'm like, you choose to survive, or you don't choose to survive. You choose your own path. And one of the things I do with my children, both mine are neurodiverse, is I'm like, listen to your language, because actually you think you're coming across as if the world owes you something, and actually the world doesn't. It's there for your taking. And how did you navigate, I suppose, what are you doing to change that mindset? What practices can you share with us that you've done, changed mindset to overcome some of the symptoms that we get with menopause?
So the first thing I'm going to say here is, we see mindset and physical body as two separate things. Because on one hand, we're thinking things, on the other hand, we're feeling things, and we think those are two different parts of us. What I am proposing to think through, the first thing that was a pillar, a foundation for me, is sleep. I did my very, very best to make sure that I get a good night's sleep, because sleep is tied into your detox pathways. Sleep is tied into you being able to reset, you being able to think straight, you being able to do a million different things on the biological level inside your body, as well as your mind, and being able to think clearly and choose your thoughts rather than being driven by them, right? So that's number one is, and I thankfully have not gotten to a place where my sleep was disturbed in the first place through all of this. So catching it on the front end was easier for me. Number two, density of nutrition. Like, talk about what is it, and I say this to my kids, I'm like, if you want your car to run smoothly, you've got to put gas in it. And it depends on what kind, like, the quality really matters here. And in today's world, with all of us trying to get somewhere fast, to get results quickly, the rush of the day, the aspect of nutrition density kind of goes by the wayside.
Yeah.
Right? The third thing I'm going to mention, and you're going to hop on board with this one, is exercise, moving your body. Like, evolutionary, we are built to move our bodies. You don't have to run a marathon. I don't run a marathon. You don't have to do all of these gloriously athletic things, but being able to just move. Like, an easy thing, park far away and walk to the store. Like, take those extra few steps, right? The next one I'm going to say, and this is all the integrative aspect of me, because remember, I was trained as a conventional medicine person through the nuclear program. And then after my cancer diagnosis, I enrolled in University of Arizona and was trained as an integrative health coach. So all of this kind of married in this one person who is me.
Yeah, and it's similar for me. My degree was in physio, and
Yeah.
then I've done nutrition and remedial therapy and now life coaching. And
Mhm.
actually, I think it was very profound in one of my trainings. I was like, you can't separate the boxes. You have to look at holistic, which is why I harp on continually about baby steps to suit your lifestyle, but those baby steps could be a number of things that make it holistic. And everything we do, whether or not it's in this time of our journey or, some other part of our journey, think of yourself as a holistic person. You can't just take one pill.
Yeah.
Can't just take one pill and it fixes it. You can't just get one major paycheck or, a lottery win, okay, and that's going to fix all your financial. It goes around. There's lots of other elements that you have to balance out. And that's the only way, when you look at yourself holistically, that I feel that you can be successful in your own life, become and serve your purpose and enable others to grow. And I think that's, phenomenal.
Taking a pill is easy. All this other stuff we're talking about is foundational
Yeah.
and will set the road for how effective those supplements and things that you might choose to do in addition to
Yeah.
will be for you, right? So the next one is going to be stress management. So this, I'm going to stop here for a second because I was not necessarily aware that I was under stress. I have a busy household. I have 3 kids. My husband travels for work most of the time, or at that point he did. So the stress kind of became normalized in my life. I didn't know that that was happening. And in the minute of deciding what I was going to do with the cancer or the surgery for my menopause journey, I had to see it for what it was, right? And I had to figure out what it was that I was going to choose to kind of decompress that stress level. And after I did that is when I felt it, right? It was completely silent for me because I was just revving, revving, revving. And when I became conscious of it and took some of it away, my body almost like sunk in and relaxed into a chair. And I realized that that was a step down for me. So watch out.
I think it's the awareness piece, and I'd like to just go on to this for a number of reasons, right? It is the awareness piece of your stress levels. First of all, listening to you, your body's already been put in stress because you've taken it through surgery. You've had that mental stress because you had to make that decision. And that decision you had to make because you've got, your lifestyle, you've got your kids, you want the longevity. But it's really, really to have that awareness. And the reason I say the awareness, and this is why I bark on to some of my clients about having a diary or just a little notepad to see what you've done that day, what your energy levels of like, what have you eaten? Have you fueled properly? Are you reaching for the sugary snacks or the caffeine to get you through? Because that starts to go, where are you in the level of stress? And for me, in the last recent few weeks, has had to become really aware of that because it also impacts on how you interact with others. And through my traumatic experience, I'm not saying traumatic, I'm going to say through my experience, which hasn't been textbook, I've been on this high level of stress because it's been survival mode for me. And now I'm running out of that energy and I'm becoming more emotional. So I'm really working hard to go, You need to lower your stress levels. You need to learn. And subsequently, because of that, my tone, the way I speak is, is a lot quieter. The way I interact with my children, a lot quieter. The way I think is a lot quieter. And it's that awareness piece that you really need to be to go, okay, where are you? And you were saying you're just sitting in a chair and you can just be.
There was a quote that kept going around in different places that said, you need to sit in nature for half an hour in a day. Unless you're busy, then you need to sit for an hour. Right? So that is a big part of being aware and just conscious of that. Like you said, it's perfectly summarized by what you just discovered for yourself too. The next one I'm going to mention, and this is going to be an interesting one. It's your environment.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Environment.
So, and when I talk about environment, everybody thinks about the outer environment. Okay, like, do I have food? Do I have water? How clean is my water? That's all good questions right there. Now, bringing in, like, because I live in the United States, there's very different rules about what chemicals are and aren't allowed on the market. So for me, it's incredibly important to pay attention to what I use to clean my home, to what I use in my outer environment, like in the pool, in like all of these basic things that we do, cleaning the car, all of that adds up little by little. And I discovered that with my daughter. My 18-year-old daughter has a neurodivergent diagnosis as well. So we've been on this road for quite some time. Now, after we finish talking about our outer environment, let's talk about our inner environment. Like, how is it that I am addressing myself in my self-talk? What kind of boundaries do I have? First of all, inside me, in terms of what I say yes or no to. Right? And is it being done from a deep sense of purpose, or is it being done from a people-pleasing perspective? Am I trying too hard to please someone else and hurting myself at the same time? That creates a different environment inside of you. And a lot of times when you talk about that, people don't recognize how important and how deep that connection goes. Right? And we touched a little bit on this idea of mindset. So that all plugs into this idea of environment for me.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I think that's really important because I've done a number of podcasts where we've talked about self-image, body self-image, and also about the self-talk. And again, what you say to yourself, you'll find somebody else will reflect back to you. And this goes back to stress awareness. And that was really profound when I was having a really difficult time with my eldest, and they said, just have a listen to him. Is what he is saying to you what you say to yourself? And that hit me like a baseball, okay, just straight in the face. And I was like, actually, yeah. And again, you switch your self-talk, and it's not just, a lot of people in the UK are quite skeptical, aren't they? So, saying affirmations like I love myself, it isn't. It's going, would you say that to your best friend? And take it simply. I've got this great idea, I'm gonna earn a multi-million-pound car and do this, and I'm gonna do it in 2 weeks. And would you go to your friend, you're complete stupid? You probably wouldn't. You would probably go, great idea, tell me a bit more about it and see if we can make it work. And I help them that way. And it's again looking yourself and self-talk and going, okay, how do you feel? Okay, it's okay to be tired because you've got changing hormones. We change every day, the different levels of energy. So it's okay to feel a bit tired, Michelle. You're not failing. Just take 5 minutes out, have a sleep, have a nap, and then you'll be more present for others. But it's equally the one thing that I find is my control mechanism is very much around sort of like the food and what I'm feeding. And if I do have a treat, my automatic used to be, you failed. And a lot of people here will go, yeah, I'm going to do clean eating. I'm going to do all of this. And then they will go, oh, gosh, I had a bite of the chocolate. And you go, well, actually, that's just one day. So actually, that's not every day. So let's get back on. And it's really having that awareness again of how you're talking and how you're feeling.
And little tiny steps. So you reminded me of the time when my daughter was little, my neurodivergent daughter, and we all decided to go gluten-free.
Oh,
And this is a decade ago. And the difference that I discovered by telling myself, all right, we're going to go gluten-free, and just empty my entire pantry, throw away all the stuff, and not have anything left, and the overwhelm of having to refill the whole pantry, versus later in life, I discovered that what if I just switch all the crackers now? And I don't touch
yeah.
anything else. I just switch the crackers. And the next week, I switch the pasta and nothing else. And I just do that. And I praise myself for the fact that I did it. So when you were saying you feel like a failure when you fail in one small part, that happens overwhelmingly when you're trying to do everything at once. It
Yeah.
is normal to fail at one small part when you're trying to do the whole thing. But if you just focus on one tiny thing at a time, it works, and it's easier to believe the truth that I am enough, that what I am doing is enough, that it is all okay the way it is today, and it can be different tomorrow if I choose to.
It just, yeah, you completely summed it up beautifully there. Because people do feel overwhelmed. Even with the internet, you go, right, I'm coming into menopause, I'm coming in perimenopause. What do I need to do? And there's just this wealth of information. And then actually you go, okay, what's the one baby step? And if that is just at the moment, getting an awareness of what you do throughout the day and how you feel, great, fantastic. Then you go, if that's having an extra glass of water, brilliant. If that is, okay, I'm going to try a new vegetable today, great. And I think we're in such a fast-paced culture where everything had to be done yesterday. And if you haven't achieved X, Y, and Z, then you're not meeting the mark. And I go, well, actually, what happened to the longevity? What happened to living longer? What happened to actually the person, the tortoise who wins the race, is the slowest, yet wins against all that fast pace.
Right. Oh, that's beautiful. Absolutely right. And we forgot the art of a journey. We just want the destination.
Yeah. That's lovely.
Yeah. Well, so my last one is going to tie it all back together, because the last one is social connections.
Oh, okay.
Because we as humans, and you mentioned the word evolutionary, we do not survive alone. Evolutionary. We survive in a group. And we have had so many affronts to that aspect of humanity in the last 5 to 10 years. And there's been so much divisiveness and fear, frankly, that whole idea of fear for many different reasons, right? With the pandemic, we were fearful for our life, for our health. With the mindset piece, we're fearful that we don't fit in, or we're not good enough, or we're not the same as somebody else. And if we get to a place where we recognize our place, and again, this word evolutionary keeps coming back. Like I'm picturing this grandmotherly figure around a fire pit, like way back when, and how valued she was for her wisdom, right? Having gone through this menopausal journey, having gotten to the other side, and being that pillar of the community, that people who are younger that don't necessarily have the time to think through all these different aspects come to her for advice, come to her just to sit next to and to be and connect and feel like there is, there's this other side, like see themselves, have the opportunity to see themselves 10, 20, 30 years down the road and what that would be like,
Which
right?
goes back to the leading lady. And yeah, beautiful, because we do learn from others. And as we go, you start off with your mother, but then, you might go to your father, and then you don't want either of your parents. So then you go to like mentors, it could be uncles and that. And then actually, I I am quite spiritual, and I think we're all connected. I think we're all connected within the universe. And actually to show compassion, and I always have led my teams where I go, I don't know it all. I'll make a decision for you, but I don't know if it's going to be the right one. I need your help. And actually this journey that you're explaining with the menopause, you've had the same symptoms that we've all had, but you approached it completely differently. You decided to be that leading lady because you wanted to inspire others. You've taken all the research and the findings from, the Japanese cultures, the Aborigines, and you've taken all of that and go, well, they survived. They never had, these as intense symptoms as being reported in the Western culture. So what did they do? And that's exactly what I did, is what did they do? And, for those we've talked about and briefly touched on, neurotypical, neurodiverse, I don't think that exists at all, because that never existed, way back when you had cavemen and stuff, because you all just won. And so what you've done is have gone, yes, I've had these symptoms and I could get these symptoms, but what's the best way of doing it? And to summarize it, you've gone, get good sleep, get good food, move, but connect. And really think about yourself, connecting with yourself and connecting with others that bring you up. Then you become that leading lady. You don't suffer. You don't find it deliberating. And therefore you can teach others, and you can teach others not just in this part of their journey, but from a young age, to perhaps giving somebody that's gone past your age in this part of the journey, you can teach each other. And that, I think, what you have shared with us today is just such a beautiful, beautiful story. A beautiful something that I go, could you just write in a book and we do a bestseller together or something? Because this is just, I can't stress enough to get the message out there, not just to us women, but across the world, to partners, to, because people need to know this stuff, because it can be applied anywhere. So thank you.
And our kids, like, they get to stand on our shoulders and our experiences, right? And even though we might have forgotten some of these things over the years because we get busy and fast paced, I want to make sure that we mention that all of this is hardwired in every human being. You are not reinventing the wheel, it's already in you. It's only a matter of remembering.
Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you to my listeners. As I said, it has been a beautiful, and for you just taking your time to share your experience. And I truly, truly am grateful for the tips and the perspectives that you shared. And I just want to say that if this podcast has resonated with anybody to really help us grow and push out our message from today and beyond, please do leave a review, share this episode with a friend, and who might benefit. Thank you for your time. If you wish to connect with me, then obviously do head over to my website. I will include Lena's details so that you can connect with Lena to find out a bit more about her journey and how she overcome. But without further ado, do take care and love to you all.